Hey everyone, there has been a brief intermission between this video and the last video I posted, mostly because it was exam season, so I just finished taking my first set of medical school exams. We just finished our first block at Vanderbilt, which is called Human Blueprint and Architecture, or HBA, which was basically biochemistry, genetics, like everything you've ever learned in undergrad in one block. And so that was a 6-week block. We have one more 6-week block, and then I think we have 3 12-week blocks, and then that's our whole first year. And that makes up all of preclinical. So again, at Vanderbilt, we only have 1 year of preclinical, so we're 13% of the way through after this exam. So I just wanted to reflect on how these exams went, what I think I did well, what I think I could do better next time, just so as you are figuring out your study technique in medical school, that you can learn from me or just see what a mess medical school can be. So to start with, how I studied for this exam was I took paper notes. So these are all the notes, well, most of the notes for this exam, just almost a binder worth, I guess. So I took all my notes by hand, and then I would study those each week, and I started making study guides for them at the end of the week because we have 3 quizzes every weekend, and so having that information circulating in your brain is really important for keeping active with it, but also being able to complete your quizzes at a reasonable enough time to get some sleep during the weekend. So that was something I do like, taking notes by hand. I would like to get an iPad. I think that having this many notes for a 6-week block and anticipating another 6-week block and 3 12-week blocks, maybe writing all of my notes on paper is not feasible and lugging them around with me in my backpack. But we'll see. I think until I can afford that, I'm gonna take notes on paper. So one thing that I did not do a lot of was Anki. I know Anki is really, really popular in medical school. I'm kind of an Anki hater, I guess. So I did start using Anki a week and a half before the exam. It's not gonna be a good study technique for me to only use Anki. I think that it is helpful for when you have a ton of information and you have to memorize a lot of things, which is true in medical school. You do have to do a lot of memorization, especially with this next block coming up where we likely have to memorize a lot of pathogens and what gram stain they are. Anki will be really helpful for that. I don't think for me that Anki is the only study technique that I can use and be effective, so I will have to pair that with something more active, or active in my case, which would be writing stuff down. But I did use a little bit of Anki during the last couple of weeks just to kind of start memorizing or working with information different enzymes that you need to know for pathways, and looking at histology slides and recognizing patterns. I think it was really helpful for histology for sure. Those are the 2 main ways I studied, mostly just taking notes and revising those notes and working with that information actively. So this is the 2016, that's when I graduated high school. The 2016 USMLE Step 1 First Aid book, I took this from the Ackland House. You do have to take the NBME exam, which is basically a national standardized exam about this information yesterday, so we did 100 questions. But I looked over this information a little bit, but a lot of it was very congruent with what we were learning in class. So I think what I will do for next block is I will be looking at first aid topics while we're going through the information and be okay, this is relevant for step 1, or this is maybe not so relevant for step 1, and so that will help me on the NBME next time. So that's how I studied throughout the block. As far as approaching the actual exam, I know for myself, I love setting timers, that if I don't have a time limit, I will spend an inordinate amount of time doing something because I want to do it very well. And that means that because we have 6 weeks of information, I could get stuck on week 1 for who knows how long. So I used my handy dandy bullet journal and made a grid where I would spend 6 hours per week of information. So there were technically 5 weeks, and then we had a histology lab on Monday of this week, and then we had our exam. So that's the 6th week. So 5 weeks of information, spending 6 hours on each week, wrap it up after 6 hours. I plan to study 30 hours for this exam, which should be enough to review information. And it was for most weeks. You can see that there were 2 2 weeks where I spent a little bit of extra time. So I ended up studying 32 logged hours and then a little bit more kind of on the side for the second portion of exams. But that seemed to be sufficient for me. I feel like I did pretty well on the exams, I think. I mean, they haven't been graded, but I feel good about them. So the 30 hours was helpful for me. I think I would have liked to study a little bit earlier. I did start studying the week before, but I'm thinking like maybe 2 or 3 weeks would have been more effective, or like just would have been less stressful. So really hammering down and making myself do things. So as far as the actual exams, what kind of exams were we taking? What was the content of the exams? How long were they? For this 6 weeks block, we had four exams. So the first exam was a 4-hour essay section. This one had 51 questions and we had 4.5 hours to take it. So we had 4 hours of exams on Wednesday. That was 8:30 to 1 o'clock. And then we were off for the rest of the day on Wednesday. I actually didn't study a ton Wednesday night. I think I rewatched some lectures I thought were gonna be really high yield in the bathtub, which proved to be very helpful. A lot of those concepts did come up on the NBME and on the histology exam that we took the next day. So speaking of that, on Thursday, we took the NBME exam for biochemistry, which was two or 2.5 hours. It was 100 questions. I think I got done with like 25 minutes to spare after I had checked my answers. So I spent a pretty considerable amount of time checking my answers, and I think I did pretty well, all things considered. And then we started our histology and then physical diagnosis exams at 11. The physical diagnosis exam was like relatively easy. I think it was only 7 questions. And then the histology portion was around 40 questions. And it was basically like, can you identify the structure? Can you tell me specifically what it is? Like, can you classify different types of tissues or different kinds of diseases based on their histological findings? So I thought that went pretty well for me, but I think definitely mixed reviews from the class. So needless to say, I'm very tired today, but I also don't know what to do with myself because we have today, Saturday and Sunday off, and there's no quizzes or anything to study. So I'll try to find something fun to do. But I just wanted to kind of tell you what our exams were like. I didn't know what to expect, and I think now after taking the exams, I think medical school is manageable. I do think it's going to be hard, and I do think that I've heard that they do ramp up the intensity a little bit, but I know that because this exam went okay, I think, and it's a little bit less scary now that I actually have done it, I think that I can and I will be able to complete the rest of them with the correct amount of work and studying, and it's gonna be tough, but it's gonna get done. So yay, we're done with our first exams. I hope this was helpful for you. I will let you know how my exams go and update you on how I am studying for the next block when we get there. But for now, I'm going to enjoy my time off and hope that you are having a great day. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like, subscribe, share with your friends, whatever you want to do with it. Comment below if you have any questions or any video requests. I would be happy to accommodate if I think a lot of people would benefit from it. And that's all for now, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!